This is Meridian Tonight with Andy Craig and my Davies.
Disabled drivers campaign to save their parking spaces.
Aren't you ashamed of yourself taking a disabled person's parking spot?
Here.
That does not excuse you.
My car.
Battle of the old soldiers who once fought side by side.
And how stay-at-home staff are beating the nightmare of commuting.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Meridian Tonight. Disabled drivers in the region claim their parking spaces are being abused by a record number of motorists who've no right to use them. Car parks in Reading are said to be among the worst affected. This evening, the RAC for traffic wardens to be given extra powers to control the problem.
We've discovered that in some car parks, more than half the disabled spaces are being used wrongly. Now, the disabled are fighting back. Mike Pearce joined one campaigner who tries to embarrass those who flout the rules.
For the disabled, finding a place to park near a supermarket or a shopping centre can often prove impossible. That's because record numbers of spaces set aside for them are being used by the able-bodied. According to campaigner Ken Blomer, people in Reading are among the worst offenders. At his local Asda supermarket, we found no shortage of motorists breaking the rules. This car had been parked here for almost an hour.
I'll move. I'll move a bit.
That's nice to see.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But, you know, you must use your eyes for driving, so you should have seen the signs, really.
Yeah.
Especially that big blue and white one there, right in front of your windscreen.
I'll do that, yeah.
But you say you never saw the sign?
I never looked, really, at the wall. I just looked where I was going, you know.
We discovered many disabled motorists unable to park, along with a bus full of people who could barely walk.
Quite a big problem, especially, you know, places like this. I mean, you do find a lot of people park, you know, I mean, they're not eligible to. I mean, obviously it's convenient for them, but it's a pain for people who want to use it.
Here at Asda in Lower Earley, there are almost 1,000 parking spaces. 44 are designated for the disabled. At the moment, there are 23 able-bodied motorists parking in the disabled spaces. The reaction from many is they simply couldn't care less. Do you know you're parked in a disabled spot?
Yeah, I am, mate, so.
Why?
Because it was nearest to the door.
But don't you think that you could be denying disabled people a spot near the door?
No, not at all. There's plenty of spaces when I came in.
So you think it's quite right you should park here?
I didn't say it was right, I just said I parked it, didn't I?
You're registered disabled? No. Do you realise you're parking in a disabled zone here?
Am I?
You certainly are. It's
I'm
big
shopping for my mother, who's very elderly.
Well, that doesn't mean anything, does it, really?
What's all this?
Meridian Television, do you think it's right you should be parking here? Are you disabled, madam?
I don't have to answer to you.
But you're parked in a disabled bay. You think it's fair? Ken Blomer says one solution to the problem is to publicly embarrass those who break the rules.
Aren't you ashamed of yourself taking a disabled person's parking spot?
Here.
That does not excuse you.
My car. We're reporting the lot of you.
Aren't you thoroughly ashamed of yourself, though?
Others Ken tried to talk to were in even more of a hurry. Are you disabled?
No, I'm not.
Do you realise you're in a disabled bay?
Yes, I do, yes, yeah.
Can you tell us why?
Why? Because normally you have to park round there and I'm just shooting in to drop this off, so I'm literally going to be about 2 minutes.
The disabled say they're being made to suffer.
Well, they shouldn't park there. It's disgraceful. Sometimes I have to park her here, or other people I take, and put them off here and go and find it right up there and have to leave them again and come and right round again to pick them up.
It's every hour. We'll actually come out here ourselves and police it to make sure that the cars parked do have the invalid stickers on. If they don't, then we'll actually call the customers to our reception area and ask them kindly to remove the car.
What's the reaction from customers once you normally do that?
Generally, it's very, very good. But obviously, on occasion, we have had instances of customers being fairly abusive and claiming that it is a right for them to use this car park, which is not.
At Saver Centre in Reading, we found the rules were being strictly observed. Signs were good and the disabled bays were clearly marked. Most agree the solution lies with changing social habits. But as we discovered, that could prove difficult. Mike Pearce in Reading for Meridian Tonight.
Well, Edmund King from the RAC is in our London studio now. Edmund, what should we do about this problem? Is it just a matter of education, of teaching people that they're doing something wrong?
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you in highlighting this problem, because it is something that the RAC has been concerned about. And in fact, we conducted our own nationwide study last year and found that in the Meridian area, about 22% of the disabled spaces were being abused by inconsiderate parkers.
So what can we do about it?
Well, we've looked at all sorts of things. We've looked at whether you can embarrass the people, whether you can educate them, and that will certainly help. But at the end of the day, what we might have to do is actually to get the supermarket owners to contract out the parking to traffic wardens or to the local authorities, because it appears that's all the motorists will listen to.
Do you really think that there's no point in trying to educate people, that they just won't listen?
Well, we think there is, and in fact we're doing a follow-up survey this summer to see whether things have changed. But if they haven't changed, I think we may have got to the point that education works to such an extent, but you still need strict enforcement. So it's a sorry state to be in, but at the end of the day, we might have to have wardens on our supermarket forecourts.
Edmund King, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, 50 years ago, they fought side by side. Now, the Dunkirk Veterans Association at Salisbury has been split by a bitter 7-year battle. One man claims victory. Other old soldiers in their 70s and 80s face a £50,000 legal bill, which could see them losing their savings, possessions, and even their homes. Martin Lowe explains from the front line.
Old soldier Harold Hewitt polishes the medals he won for gallantry in World War II. He's now just as determined to confront his modern-day adversaries, even, he says, if it means they're turned out of their homes and onto the street. Harold won a 7-year legal battle after he was expelled from the Salisbury branch of the Dunkirk Veterans Association. The High Court at Winchester ordered his reinstatement and awarded him £4,500 damages, plus his costs put in the region of £80,000. It's left the veterans with a bill they cannot pay. Harold says he'll pursue them for the money, even if it means his old comrades lose everything.
We can go for their savings, any assets, including motor cars, if necessary, go for their house or houses. The only thing is that 2 of the individuals live in council houses.
Is this not a bit drastic against old men who were former comrades?
No, not in my opinion.
Harold's expulsion came after he accused other club members of dishonesty and was himself discovered secretly tape-recording meetings. He was accused of Gestapo tactics, a comment he also captured on tape.
We're not going to stand for this bloody Gestapo thing of yours. You've no bloody... You come here and you bloody take no...
Harold believes he was humiliated and any action now is justified.
My honour and integrity means everything to me.
This is the Veterans Social Club at Amesbury. It's been valued at £35,000. It's now been handed over to Mr. Hewitt in part payment of his costs, but he's still claiming another £50,000 from club members. The Reverend Arthur Addis is past president and branch chaplain and is one of the members Mr. Hewitt has threatened to bankrupt. At 81, the Reverend Addis, who was Montgomery's ammunition supply officer, faces ruin.
What he could do is to point his finger at me and say that I would pay the lot, in which case, of course, I'd lose my house and my savings and all my goods.
Former paratrooper and club secretary Lou Carrier has cancer and receives a wartime disability pension.
Oh, he's going to have my car, which would be crippling, perhaps not the right word, but I am a disabled war pensioner, and without a car, I'd be more or less housebound.
The Salisbury branch has been suspended from the National Dunkirk Veterans Association for a year over the affair. The final amount of costs owed to Mr Hewitt is still being contested, but the row has left a number of proud old soldiers admitting they are frightened men. Martin Lowe in Salisbury for Meridian Tonight.
An inquest heard today that an 18-year-old student who'd climbed in some of Europe's highest mountain ranges fell to his death from a cliff on the Dorset coast. 18-year-old Alec Thorne from Early was on a weekend rock climbing expedition with a friend. They'd been climbing together since their school days. Malcolm Stewart has this report.
Alec Thorne had climbed in the Alps and the Pyrenees, and when he won a place at Girton College, Cambridge last year, he joined the University Mountaineering Society and spent most of his weekends tackling rock faces. But he died on a 2-day trip to the Purbeck Cliffs, used for training by many clubs. And he may have been tackling the wrong ascent, because he'd left his climber's guide in his rucksack at the top of the cliff. The guidebook would have given him detailed descriptions of the climb up Boulder Ruckle, one of the Purbeck Cliffs. Instead, Alec and his former school friend, Simon Clint from Woking, had to guess which route to take. Simon told the inquest that Alec, the stronger climber, went up fairly easily, but about 60 feet up, suddenly slipped, and the protective clamp holding his rope pulled out. The inquest heard that Alec died instantly from head injuries. Alec's father, Michael Thorne, on the right, said his son was an experienced and enthusiastic mountaineer. He'd appreciated the risks, but had taken every precaution. And the Coast Guard, who led the rescue attempt, defended the sport of rock climbing, despite the dangers.
There are warning notices put up by the County Council near the lighthouse, where all the climbers enter from anyway, stating how many casualties and indeed how many deaths have occurred over the last 10 or 12 years, and asking them to be extra careful on their climbing.
And how dangerous are the cliffs? I mean, how many deaths have there been?
Over the years that I've been doing it, many deaths. You can average out, I would say, 3, possibly 4 every year.
But you wouldn't discourage people from doing it?
Not really.
Before recording a verdict of misadventure, the coroner, Nigel Neville-Jones, said climbing could never be a totally safe sport, but it was a healthy and exciting pursuit enjoyed by many young people. Malcolm Stewart in Bournemouth for Meridian Tonight.
A father of 3 who strangled his wife at their Bracknell home has been sentenced to 5.5 years in prison. Daniel Irons was acquitted of murdering his wife Sandy, but found guilty of manslaughter at an earlier hearing. Reading Crown Court heard Irons had suffered violent abuse from his wife. Passing sentence, Judge John Mercy said he accepted Irons was not a dangerous man.
Detectives are scaling down their search for the missing Newbury woman, Rhonda Kay. Mrs Kay, who has 2 young children, disappeared from her home in Newbury 5 months ago. She's made no contact with her husband or children since then. A dozen detectives and support staff have worked on the case full-time since she vanished. But despite a widespread search, no trace of Mrs Kay has been found.
Well, the economy has dominated the Newbury by-election today, with Chancellor Norman Lamont joining the Conservatives' campaign. The Tories have been boosted by a series of positive surveys on economic confidence and the latest unemployment figures. But opposition parties say they're misleading. Sonia Legg has today's details.
The Tory trump card at the moment is the revival of the economy, and much was made today of the green shoots of recovery. A visit to computer programming company Microfocus was the backdrop. The Tory candidate Julian Davidson complimented workers on the choice of blue screens for the computers. Chancellor Norman Lamont admitted the economy may have cost the Conservatives by-elections in the past, and this time he said things were going to be different, but he wasn't being drawn on where he'd gone wrong.
Je ne regrette rien.
With the bookies putting Julian Davidson in second place behind the Liberal Democrats, he went on the offensive with a 6-point attack on their candidate David Rendell.
Elections are about choices. Elections are about choosing between 2 or 3 different choices. And so it's quite legitimate to compare one party's policy with another. That is sometimes called negative. I think it is quite right to put alternatives before the public.
On that point, the Liberal Democrats actually agree, but that's the only thing the two parties have in common. Campaigning in the village of Kintbury today, they were still urging voters to treat the by-election as a mini-referendum on government policy, while welcoming the news of a possible upturn in the economy. Their trade and industry spokesman said any improvement had come too late.
A government that has been in power for 14 years has created an economic disaster for this country. And the fact that we're now turning a corner and the government is as surprised as anybody at these figures is no justification for giving them a ringing endorsement.
The Labour Party too deny there's evidence of any sustainable recovery. Their shadow Treasury spokesman said Mr Lamont's visit should remind people why they should vote against the Tories.
I have to say that the Chancellor has a right nerve coming here to boast about it. If he wants to try and take credit for this drop, he must also account to the people of Newbury for the rise in this constituency of 2,708 in those out of work since he became Chancellor.
With almost 2 weeks to go until the by-election, it's hard to forecast whether the Tories will still be singing in the rain on May the 6th. Sonia Legg with the election campaign for Meridian Tonight.
Now, polling is, of course, on Thursday, May the 6th. A total of 19 people had declared themselves as candidates when nominations closed yesterday afternoon. That's a record for a parliamentary by-election. And this is the full list of the candidates for that Newbury seat.
Well, Newbury has, of course, been invaded by the media for the duration of the by-election campaign, and the interest is intense. For example, this was the Sun newspaper this morning in most of the country.
That paper, incidentally, was bought in Reading, and this was the same paper here in Newbury. That's a special edition, especially for this constituency. Now, that is something of a rarity. In other sections of the media, you may have also noticed certain similarities in the coverage. That is not an accident. It's the way the campaign is run by the main parties, with a daily round of news conferences. Well, Tony Kerner has the story behind the stories.
Well, this looks like it could easily be the place. It's the Conservative Club in the centre of Newbury. It's now 8:15 in the morning, and the ladies and gentlemen of Her Majesty's Press have arrived for their first course of breakfast politics. Let's go inside. Politicians paraded before sleepy hacks, some who've driven from London every morning. Some, of course, from a little closer. It's a long way from candidates on a soapbox, but this is the media age. It's far from a public event, but everything said here is intended for public consumption through television, radio and newspapers. The big names give their interviews, hoping to stick to their chosen issue. And all the parties know how to use this round of conferences.
The morning round of press conferences has turned not so much into a game of university challenge, but candidates challenge, as each of the candidates from the parties provides a list of challenges for us to take on to the next press conference to put to their candidate. And probably after all three press conferences, you end up with more challenges and counter-challenges that you know what to do with.
It's now 9 o'clock, so this must be the Liberal Democrats, and they'll try to stick to their own agenda for the morning. Most of the same faces from the press are here after a quick dash around the corner. Some drop by the wayside, but most stay for the second course. It's the same order every morning. Surely there are behind-the-scenes deals going on.
I think there's quite often a bit of argy-bargy, actually, at the beginning of a campaign as to who's going to go first and who's going to go third. There's different advantages and disadvantages one way or the other, of course. If you go first, then you're the earliest. Some of the journalists might not be along in time. If you go last, then you have the opportunity to challenge the other candidates on what they've said at their news conferences. And obviously there are more people there as well, but you may be tighter up against media deadlines.
And the deadline is 9:30, so it must be Labour, the press pack are here. It all stops over the weekend, but begins again on Monday morning. Tony Kerner in Newbury for Meridian Tonight.
Yes, they have to have the weekend off. Well, there's every indication that the by-election is going to be a very close-run thing, and that may mean splits in the families. If you're one of those with divided political loyalties, be it father, mother, brother or sister, then please give me a call. This is the number to ring. It's 0635 522 614. That's 0635 522 614.
Well, we're going to take a short break now, but in a moment, how to beat the commuting nightmare, we talk to the stay-at-home workers.
And I'll be telling you somewhere safe to take the children this weekend. They'll be guarded by these fellows. They're not as fearsome as they seem.
1 in 4 accidents are like this one. Fortunately, my car comes equipped with SIPS, Volvo's technologically advanced side impact protection system. Most cars these days have door bars, but this innovation goes much further. The energy of the crash is dispersed through special roof, door, and floor pillars, and the speed of the intrusion is actually reduced. Now, here's the clever bit. This unit is collapsing, so my seat can move away from the van and create a survival space. Volvo, a car you can believe in.
See the difference. St. Ives Swiss Formula Hair Repair Hair Thickening Shampoo with dexpanthenol leaves your hair thicker after just one shampoo. For fine, wispy or thinning hair, St. Ives Hair Thickening Shampoo. Feel it working.
Robin Hood, riding through the glen. Robin Hood, with his band of men. Feared by the bad, loved by the good. Robin Hood, Robin Hood, Robin Hood. Robin Hood could be in a fix. Robin Hood spies the Weetabix. Does he retreat back to Sherwood? 'Cause he should, 'cause he should, 'cause he should.
Have you had your Weetabix?
In test conditions, the case for precision German engineering rests on our tyres. Continental Tyres, German engineering where you need it most on a car.
One of these is a 1959 model Gibson Les Paul Standard in Sunburst. The adjustable Tunematic bridge and patent applied for humbucking pickups make it sound like no other guitar. It'll lick the pants off the other one. Export from Carlsberg, for those who know the difference.
A bag of Ariel Ultra might seem bigger than it is when you consider that it cleans 306 school shirts. Big wash, small bag.
Dirty floors are no problem with new Mr. Muscle Floor Cleaner because it wipes out grease and grime. Mr. Muscle loves the jobs you hate.
Hello and welcome back. Now, are you one of those many people who dread the journey to work? Does your heart sink at the thought of congested roads, packed trains, or even worse, another train strike? Well, more and more people are avoiding all that and using high-tech equipment to work from home. In this region, simply providing a desk can cost an employer £6,000 a year in rent, rates and support services, so firms are showing an interest too. Malcolm Stewart has been to see the home workers of the late 20th century.
Nearly 450 employees fled to safety when this Basingstoke office block went up in flames 3 years ago. As they counted heads, managers for digital computers began to ask if everyone needed to be there. In the rebuilt complex, 700 people are on the workforce, but every day a large number of them stay at home, and their bosses are delighted.
Somebody isn't telling you that at 9 o'clock in the morning you have to be here, and at 5 o'clock you have to do this, and at lunchtime, which is 12 until 1 o'clock, you have to do this. Right? In other words, you are in control.
Many companies found that in the recent rail strikes, a large proportion of their key staff members were simply able to work from home. It is, of course, all made possible by the computer systems that firms like Digital happen to sell, but the company admit that it was the fire of 1990 that made them realise the virtues of home working. Jackie Down is manager of a 17-strong team that markets digital services. She attends meetings in her office, but the terminal in the study of her Farnham home gives her worldwide communications.
We found that productivity has gone up with people being able to do quiet tasks at home or in different places. And most people have really adapted to it very, very well. They found it perhaps a little bit strange in the beginning, but after that they've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Computers took a long time to arrive in British newspaper offices, but they've now brought about a revolution in production methods. What is typed on these screens can go directly into print at a press many miles away.
When the reporters here at the Aldershot News complete their stories, two things can happen.
Either the copy can go to the sub-editors who work in the neighbouring room, or it can go electronically to Mike Stark, who works from his home 50 miles and 1 ferry journey away on the Isle of Wight. Mike Stark does exactly the same job as his colleagues in Aldershot. He handles reporters' copy, lays out pages and sends everything to the printers.
Having thought about 5 years ago that all computers are the work of the devil, I gulped and then went on a training course which the firm provided for us all, and then found they were actually quite useful beasts. And so they provided me with the equipment that you see here, and I now do exactly the same work without all the hassle of travelling, and it really is a splendid life.
And Mike's editor says that the ferry service's loss is a gain for the Aldershot News.
Mike is always the man on the spot. If someone goes sick on us, we can always get on to Mike if he's on a day off. I mean, it might mean running around the pubs, but nevertheless, we'll get him somehow.
Computer companies believe that within a decade, 10% of the working population could be electronic homeworkers.
As the technology is becoming cheaper and as people are becoming more comfortable with using it, it will just evolve, I think, quite quickly now over the next 10 years.
But those already involved admit it does need a certain amount of personal adjustment.
Working from home is not a way for childcare. You do need your children looking after. I basically kiss my daughter goodbye as if I was going to the office, and I go and work in the study and get on with my work. The advantage for me, I can come out at lunchtime, or if I make a cup of coffee or tea, I can come out and have a quick chat, but then I go back.
I think you find yourself adjusting when you're a lone worker working at home on your own. You adjust this social element. You've got the telephone in any case to talk to your colleagues, but on the other hand, just the physical contact with other human beings can be achieved in a village here, as I am, down in the south of the Isle of Wight. It can be achieved by going down the shop, perhaps having lunch down the pub and talking to me mates, and that sort of thing, or just going for a walk and talking to neighbours.
And it's a lifestyle that in this region in particular, many more people are going to adopt. Malcolm Stewart for Meridian Tonight.
I wonder if we'll ever persuade them to do this programme from home. Who knows? It's a thought, isn't it? A whole school turned out in the pouring rain today for a practical lesson about helicopters. Pupils used the occasion to get special photographs to help celebrate the school's 25th birthday. Well, the weather tried but failed to dampen the enthusiasm for that flying visit. Thunderbird's own Keith Malone joined the helicopter crew.
The pupils' rehearsals paid off a treat. The rain did its best to disrupt their formation, but as the helicopter flew in, there was the message. 1968 to 93, Wild Riding School at Bracknell, 25 years old. Cab Air is combining education with business in these visits to schools throughout the region. The firm gives the pupils a lesson in how a helicopter works.
And that's why we have the tail rotor blades at the back. They push on the tail to stop us spinning round and round. And then although they don't look very important because they're very tiny, if we didn't have them, our journey through the sky would be like this.
In return, the firm sells photos to the children wanting to buy a memento of the helicopter's visit. The schools get a cut of the profits, and there's a wider educational benefit as well.
Under the national curriculum, in the geography programmes of study, we need to have aerial photographs of our district. And this is an ideal way of doing it, so we're looking forward to seeing those pictures.
I've learned how it works, how the helicopter works and how the propellers work.
When it turns round, it's like an airflow and it goes up.
The air cushion lifts it up and the air comes down.
I've learned a lot about how the rotors move and how it flies in the sky.
Those with extra curiosity were lucky enough to get some personal instruction from the pilot. With 500 pupils at Wild Riding's primary, it was a wet business getting through all the many class photos. But it's a fair bet which will prove to be the most popular. Keith Malone at Bracknell for Meridian Tonight.
Well, there's some helicopter pilots of the future in there, I think. Now then, it's time for our latest in our series on places to visit at the weekend. Peter Henley's been to Windsor to step back in time. Peter.
Yes, your chance at time travelling comes at the Royalty and Empire exhibition in Windsor, which recreates a scene from nearly 100 years ago using life-size waxwork figures. It's been a major attraction in Windsor for a little while, but if you've been before, it's well worth another visit because they've added some new attractions. Windsor Station is the magnificent setting. Outside there's a Covent Garden-style market with traders in traditional dress. Then the former GWR booking hall is the entranceway to an entertaining tour. Much of it's there for the tourists. There's a chance to practice your own royal wave, try on a crown the same weight as the one used for the coronation, or even shake hands with Her Majesty herself. But you can learn a lot. Do you know the proper way to curtsy?
Okay, so now what you do is you put one foot on there, one foot on there, that's right, and put one foot behind the other, yes, very good. Now bend the knees, keep the back straight, and your head up.
These slightly tacky tricks are left behind in the main exhibition. Queen Victoria started her Diamond Jubilee celebrations at Windsor Station. Using waxworks from Madame Tussauds, they've turned back the clock to 1897. The carriages from the royal train have been restored. The crowned heads of Europe are frozen at the moment they were about to step onto the red carpet at the close of the 19th century. Edward, Prince of Wales, is again about to greet them in the station waiting room. The Guard of Honour of the Coldstream Guards stands to attention under the glass canopy built at Queen Victoria's express wish to keep her soldiers dry. Visiting the Royalty and Empire exhibition is the closest you'll get to stepping back in time. This was the exact scene on this spot nearly 100 years ago. It's been recreated using waxwork models down to the last detail. Excuse me, I think this is my carriage. Queen Victoria was not amused, but I enjoyed the ride. The exhibition's been in Windsor 10 years, and it's been carefully thought through. There's a gallery giving a good vantage point for photographs of the scene, and there's a good deal of fun to be had with the waxworks. Madame Tussauds made them very lifelike. People swear they've seen one move. Many of the figures were cannibalised from the London exhibition. Try spotting the film stars among the soldiers' faces. This gentleman was a youthful Prince Charles, remodelled. Apparently they used Mae West's chest somewhere. It's worth a little extra attention to all the figures. It's a hard life being a waxwork, and you get fed up with looking at them after a while, which is why it's good that there's more here than just the exhibition. The costume came from the place that takes photographs. In true Victorian style, you're not allowed to smile. The price is quite reasonable, £15 for this print, including the costume. There's also a pleasant cafe undercover to sit and watch the world go by, or reflect on your visit.
Well, I'm an engineer, so I'm interested in the old train.
Well, we enjoyed it. It was so realistic that you almost believed they were going to move, particularly when the soldiers had to present arms. You expected, you know, all the legs to be moving and everything.
You can see the best of the Royalty and Empire exhibition inside an hour, so it's a good stop on a morning or afternoon tour to Windsor. But you could stay a good deal longer in the market. Things are very reasonably priced. These Liberty boxes are half the price you'd pay in town. Most days there's some extra entertainment, and you can visit this part of Royalty and Empire without paying for the main exhibition. They've added a lot to the exhibition over 10 years, and they've taken away some things. I remember going 4 or 5 years ago and being bored to death by the Florence Nightingale feature and the local history collection. The things they've added are much more fun, particularly for the children.
Why did you look at me when you said that? I have to say, you made a very good waxwork. It's very worrying. What did you think of it?
I thought it was pretty good. It was good value for money. They've held the prices for 4 years now. Adult admission is £3.95, children over 6 pay £2.45, pensioners £2.95, and there's a family ticket for £10.50. Now that gets you into the main exhibition area, but there's the market area as well, which is well worth popping into if you're in Windsor. It's actually quite quiet because not many people realise it's free, so it's a nice place for a quiet cup of tea.
And of course you as a waxwork's been captured for posterity. You had your photo taken, didn't you?
I'm afraid so, yes, there it is. It's a nice size print, 10 by 8. And not bad value, I don't think there. I'm not sure whether it's me or not, but there you go. There was one chap who went there the day we were there who'd taken the picture of himself and his children as a Mother's Day present, which I thought was rather good.
That's a good idea. So overall, marks out of 10 then?
Well, before, a few years ago, with just the moth-eaten photographs and the waxworks, maybe 3 or 4 out of 10. But I think now we can recommend it and give it 9 out of 10. It's good value, the same prices that it's had for a few years now, and it's very entertaining.
Great. Nice place to go for the weekend. Thanks, Peter. Andy?
Yes, great-grandfather Henley there, captured for posterity. Well, we're going to take a short break now. In a moment, the cathedral that's being completed 60 years late. And we catch up with the rally drivers who are racing to Oz.
The new Peugeot 306 drives the imagination.
How do you feel about buying a home?
I'd just like to live next to a cricket pitch.
I'd absolutely love a mortgage that doesn't go up when the interest rates go up.
It makes me very nervous.
We'd love to live near each other, but our husbands would divorce us.
It's a shoebox, but it's my shoebox.
I'd like a larger house with a smaller mortgage.
I didn't know Midland did mortgages.
Of course we do. We've got special deals for first-time buyers and fixed-rate mortgages for anyone keen to benefit from today's interest rates.
I want to know somewhere quieter.
We hear you. We're Midland, the listening bank.
Oh, right, beefy burgers.
Tell him, Scarecrow, tell him.
Who made them? Oh, this lasagna's right Italian.
Tell him.
Who made it?
Just one thing, farmer. They don't contain no meat.
No meat? Oh, no, not for me.
You won't be wanting this tasty country pie, then.
Oh, who made it?
Linda McCartney.
Linda McCartney Frozen Foods. My healthy no-meat recipes. My meat-eating friends.
You know, gardeners everywhere are getting wonderful results with Miracle Grow plant food. Well, now there's Miracle Grow lawn food for the beautiful lawn you've always wanted. Now, it's so easy. Just use your watering can. It feeds as you water, so it can't scorch. Use it any time, even in a hot summer. It's absorbed fast, so you see results fast. And with your Miracle Grow feeder, you can feed a larger lawn in minutes. Miracle Grow lawn food for the beautiful lawn you've always wanted.
I was given 10 seconds to say something really interesting. And all I could think of was Swinton Insurance.
Hello and welcome back. Now, if you've just come in, time for a quick look now at tonight's main stories. Disabled motorists are hitting back at drivers who take their spaces. Reading is said to be one of the worst examples in the country. A verdict of misadventure has been recorded on a Berkshire student who fell to his death while rock climbing in Dorset. And Chancellor Norman Lamont has been lending his weight to the Conservative campaign in the run-up to the Newbury by-election.
The crowning glory of Davies Abbey, as the locals describe it, in Woolhampton was lowered into place today, a great 110-foot spire that symbolises the end of a 60-year dream. The original Abbey church was never fully completed because of lack of funds at the time. Githa Hutton now reports.
It may have been raining heavily, but nothing was going to prevent the copper flesh, a slender version of a spire, being lifted into place at Davies Abbey this afternoon. Both the workmen and monks were determined to see this important part of the restoration work completed. Before the crane could swing into action, though, the flesh had to be blessed by the abbot. Then it was up and away as the flesh was raised and lodged on top of the abbey roof. The public school here at Upper Woolhampton has been waiting more than 60 years for this very moment. The Abbey was started in 1928, but building stopped in 1932 because of lack of money. Things stayed that way until last year, when an appeal was launched. In October, the new section's huge beams were installed. And now, almost £1 million later, and the new nave is almost finished. It'll be able to hold 450 people.
And I think some people doubted whether in their lifetime they would see it, but happily everything has conspired together to give it to us now, and I think it's wonderful.
The spire's now in place, a couple of 100 feet above me here inside this abbey, but it won't be until early June before all the work is fully completed. Give the Hutton at Dowie Abbey for Meridian Tonight.
Well, 2 books are published later this month, listing people who've been named as being the best of their profession in Britain. Unlike people in Who's Who, these people are chosen by their peers. The books, The Best of British Men and The Best of British Women, list professions ranging from industrialists to catwalk models. There are several entries from our part of the world. The one and only Lisa Hazelhurst has been along to meet the creme de la creme.
You're simply the best.
Professor Marion Hicks from Goring has been named Britain's top nutritionist. She's Director of Food Issues at United Biscuits. Before she moved into the food industry several years ago, she was involved in cancer research. She lists one of her main achievements as helping develop a weaning rusk for undernourished babies in China. One rusk will provide half the essential vitamins and minerals a baby needs every day.
The children that have access to it will not have this very debilitating anemia whilst they're growing, and so that they should grow better, their mental development should be better, they should be less susceptible to infections, they shouldn't get bone diseases and rickets. In other words, their whole life will be much better physically and mentally.
You're simply the best.
If it's romance you're after, then Karen Mooney is tops when it comes to fixing up dates for lonely hearts. Karen left the Metropolitan Police 4.5 years ago to launch her Windsor-based dating agency. 1,800 people are on her books and she's helped hundreds of people tie the knot. The business is called Sarah Eden. It means Royal Princess and the Garden of Eden. Windsor Castle may overlook the office, but so far no princess has walked through the door searching for a date. But Karen has had a prince asking for help.
This particular day, the doorbell rang, and we have a television in reception area so we can see exactly who's there. And this African chief was announced by his chauffeur as Chief da-da-da-da-da-da, and he came upstairs and he was about 4 foot tall with a bowler hat on and complete in his white robes and everything, and he had a formal request for an international wife.
And what did you do with him? What did they
Well,
do?
it was very difficult. He was interviewed by one of the girls, and it was explained to him that really we didn't think we'd be able to help him. We didn't think we had that many women who wanted to go to be wife number 3.
You're simply the best.
So you've been fixed up with that perfect date. Where do you go to impress them? Well, forget London. The king of cuisine in Britain is creating culinary delights in Reading. John Burton Race owns the L'Ortolin in Shinfield. He's already recognised as one of the best chefs in Europe. Now he's top in Britain.
You've got to be dedicated to it. And if you enjoy it, that's not so much of a hardship, really. You know, you only sort of watch the clock and worry about the hours and your commitment when you don't want to do it anymore. And everything seems to fit in. It needs organisation, but it's both. It's a passion, it's a job, it's a way of life, really.
3 very different people from different walks of life, but linked by achievements making them the best at what they do. Lisa Hazelhurst for Meridian Tonight.
Yeah, simply the best.
They haven't got the best of the best television presenters in there, have they?
Well, Chris is over there, isn't he?
Yes. I mean, no contest, really.
Absolutely. Chris, look, it's all yours, mate. Away you go. No contest.
Thanks very much. Right, we'll move on with the sport. As usual, plenty of variety. The football team news in just a moment. Also, a fresh debate as top performers discover a new enhancing product. On the road, the London to Sydney rally. A Berkshire driver is leading the way. and the family driving British tennis back to the top. Now, in a sporting world which is sensitive about the use of performance-enhancing products, a new substance is under scrutiny. It's a protein normally found in meat and fish. Alan Wells, the former Olympic champion who lives at Guildford, defends its use, but as Jane Hoffen explains, some suspicion still remains.
It may have been Cambridge's luck, bulk or skill which won them the boat race for only the second time in 18 years, or it may have been the Ergomax. That's the brand name for creatine, a perfectly legal food supplement which the varsity crew brought to nationwide attention in the build-up to their convincing win. But Alan Wells, who trains sportsmen and women at Guildford, denies any unfair advantage.
I think they should forget about the illegal substances and use something like this. I think the big factor of it is a very natural substance, and it's a legal substance, and I think it's the fact that it can help.
But the Sports Council is wary. There's concern about the supplement being used in the right way.
We haven't been able to establish any recommended daily dose of this substance. And so there is the possibility, like there is the possibility with vitamins, that people could find they're using toxic levels.
Curtis Robb won Britain's Olympic 800 metres trial and reached the final in Barcelona. He uses Ergomax, presumably because it helps him. So what does it actually do?
It's not what it does in the body, it's how it feels. And how it's made me feel is it's given me a depth to the power. For the 3-4 days that I'm training, it's certainly given me a big lift, and I think that's something that athletes, if they want to compete at the highest level throughout, and I talk about other sports as well, I think they should at least try it.
The debate, like Alan Wells, will no doubt run and run. Jane Hoffen for Meridian Tonight.
On to football, and while Southampton have a weekend off, Reading must win at Bradford if they're to reach the second division playoffs. Defender Jeff Hopkins is back in the side following suspension, but he's received another 3-match ban after being sent off at Stockport, so tomorrow will be his last appearance of the season. Skipper Andy Melville has been cleared to play in Oxford's first division game at Barnsley. FIFA has allowed him to delay reporting for international duty with the Welsh squad until after tomorrow's game. Golf, and Barry Lane is just one shot off the lead at the halfway stage in the Catalan Open. A second round 67 leaves him 9 under par, 1 stroke behind leader Sam Torrance. A rally driver who's based in Berkshire is leading after 6 days of the London to Sydney Marathon. More than 100 cars set out on this epic journey. They started at Chelsea Harbour, ahead 15 countries in 30 days. Experienced drivers such as former RAC winner Roger Clark was among 106 vehicles recreating an adventure first run 25 years ago. One team ran into trouble as soon as they left the ferry at Calais. They were threatened with a knife by a French motorist, obviously not a sporting type. No such problems though for Graham Lorimer, a New Zealander who lives in Reading. He was the surprise winner of the first special stage, and 6 days into the marathon he still has a 16-second lead.
Well, we'd like to be competitive, there's no question. We would like to win the event, but it's a tall order against some of the cars and the people we're up against.
While Lorimer contests the lead, Roger and Margaret Eland from Maidenhead borrowed their son's Volvo so they could take part. Life on the road through the wine-producing regions of southern Germany was scenic enough, but it's not all mouth-watering.
This is probably the most disgusting hamburger I've ever had in my life, yeah. This is to get me energy up before the special stage.
Onlookers can only speculate as to why one team have thrown the kitchen sink at the race. Whatever lies ahead, the Elands believe they're on the journey of a lifetime.
If you can't enjoy this event, I shouldn't think you could enjoy anything else on earth, could you?
So it's a good spin.
Yeah, we put a lot of effort in. I'm really looking forward to it.
I think I'm rather envious of those people. Now, if you thought one sports star in the family was enough, how about 3? The Delgado family, who live in Maidenhead, are balancing 3 young egos. They're making their mark on the British and international tennis circuits.
You might expect them to be watching a video of the last Wimbledon final, but the Delgado brothers do have the odd moment to relax. At their home in Maidenhead, a 10-year-old Johnny, Britain's #1 for his age, 14-year-old Paul, Berkshire's top player, and Jamie, who at 16 is already a former junior world champion and is currently the 10th ranked under-18 in the world. Despite his international career, he says it's his family who keep his feet firmly on the ground.
It's sometimes easy to, just treat yourself as a tennis family sometimes, and it's great to come back and, everyone's just the same as they were before, and it's just good to see, really, and still arguing and stuff, so it's just the same as every other family.
And like any normal brothers, they do have their moments, as they say, two's company.
When we're together for about 2 weeks, then we do argue when we get together, but it's all right after a while.
Well, me and Jamie get on well, but me and Paul don't. That's all.
Why not?
We're just arguing about little things all the time.
But you like Paul, don't you?
No.
But we're going for aggression and power. You're going for control and kick. OK?
It's rare for the boys to be on the tennis court together. Paul and Johnny are coached at the National Sports Centre at Bisham Abbey.
We're very lucky to have them in Berkshire, and I enjoy working with them very much. Obviously, we don't see that much of Jamie, but Paul and Johnny are both in our squads. See, Johnny's very lively and he's a great character to have in a squad, and he brings the boys along well.
Although he got his initial training from former Davis Cup player David Lloyd, Jamie relishes the chance to brush up on his technique as he launches himself into the rigours of the senior game.
Have we got a Wimbledon champion in the making, do you think?
Well, I wouldn't want to sort of hang a label round them. I mean, everybody would like to think that, but I think, there's lots of other court surfaces, and I think this particular family are going to be at their best on clay and cement.
At the moment, only former Wimbledon champions grace the walls of the Delgado household, along with other international stars. But the growing haul of silverware shows the brothers could one day join them. They've come a long way since they first played for fun with their dad in Tenerife.
I think I started with Jamie, really. And, he had a full commitment to tennis. He wanted really to play tennis since the age of 6.5, 7.
Mum says she's never contemplated picking up a racket. As for Dad, the only thing he's ever won is a Domino's trophy.
We are very proud, and sometimes we can't believe, that we have been so lucky, really. Yeah, we are very proud.
The Delgado lads, watch out for them at Junior Wimbledon, I think, this year. That's it.
Bit of style there, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Would you mind just talking amongst yourselves for a moment? Because I'm just going to pop out.
All right.
Is that all right? Because what I'd really like to do tonight is to show you a part of the studios here that you very rarely see. And there's a very good reason for it, because tonight I want to get an incredible weight off my shoulders. Francis is over here. Right, Francis? Now, you've seen this shot before, I suspect, but not from this angle. Hi, Keith. Kerry Johnston, we've seen him before. And Nick Knowles there, preparing to do his traffic reports. All right, Nick? But over here in the Meridian gym, which you have never seen before, is, in fact, Suzanne Smith. Now, if you believe you've got a gym here, you believe anything. But Suzanne here is 5 foot, absolutely nothing. She weighs 8 stone, and she is a champion powerlifter. Right, could you just take that weight there for me a moment? There we go. Pass me the microphone a moment there. Just to say again.
I'm out of breath.
You're out of breath. Well, you can talk into my microphone for a moment. There we are. 5 foot nothing, 8 stone. What were you lifting there, weight-wise?
That's 70 kilos, which is about 154 pounds.
Now, why did someone of your stature actually choose weightlifting as a sport?
My father, who runs a gym in Reading, has been doing it all his life, so I took it up to keep fit, really, to start with, and then realised I was quite strong. So he put me into a competition. What's
the difference between the sort of powerlifting that you do and the kind of weightlifting that we see in the Olympics and that kind of thing?
Well, powerlifting is pure strength, and Olympic lifting involves a lot of technique, obviously, and you do lift the bar above your head with Olympic lifting.
No, I mean, I must admit, the image that one has of weightlifters is sort of 16, 18 stone guys, all gurning away and grimacing, etc. And they had a bit of bad press as well, because, I mean, in the Olympics, 2 of them were sent home. But your type of lifting, it involves no drugs whatsoever, no hint of it, in fact.
That's right. I belong to an association that really are the only body that do drug testing properly.
So it's anti-drugs totally?
Yes.
No additives whatsoever?
No.
Enhancers or anything? What are you going to lift for us now? What sort of a lift are you going to do?
Well, this is called the squat.
The squat?
Yes.
OK.
And I'm going to do 70 kilos on that again.
70 kilos, that's quite a lot, isn't it? It's over 11 stone, isn't it? Around about that?
That's right, a bit more, yeah.
A bit more than 11 stone. A bit more than me, then. Right, all yours, then. So this is the squat. Suzanne here from Thiel, incidentally, lifting 70 kilos. Quite extraordinary, isn't it? That's the equivalent of someone of my size, more or less on the back of your shoulders. Let's just leave it at that. We don't want you to do too many there, Suzanne. Keep yourself in trim. Now, you can probably hear the children over in the background. If you come round here again, because the kids are over here as well. You normally take them to the gym with you as well?
Well, they like to get in on it a bit, so they don't do anything serious.
Is it safe for them to do this sort of thing?
Yeah, they only do the bar. They're not doing anything heavy.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you actually got a record, or a world record, when you were about 9 months pregnant, weren't you?
That's right. It was the bench press, the one that I did, you know, to start off with, so I wasn't putting any pressure on my stomach at all, but it was fun.
And then you had another record after you'd had the other baby as well.
Yeah, 2 weeks after I had my second baby, I decided to go... I'm so out of breath.
Don't worry
I
about it.
decided to go into the World Championships, so just for fun, really.
Now, I know you're heading for Europe again. It's you did a lot of travelling, so it must be quite an expensive sport.
Yes, if it wasn't for Lockhart's catering in Thiel, I wouldn't be able to go to the World Championships this October.
So they're looking after you there, are they?
Oh, yes.
That's good for them. Well, listen, we wish you all the best for those
Thank
World
you.
Championships. You don't have to get pregnant to do it by any chance, do
No.
you? Every time you talk about the babies. But thanks for being with us and all the very best to you.
Thank you.
I'm going to have one of those weights that the kids have got, incidentally. Back to you, Mai.
Thanks, Andy. I think those children are going to be champion weightlifters as well, by the look of it. Now then, it's time for a look at the region's weather. It's been a very wet day today. These pictures are from the Kennet and Avon Canal at Kintbury. The water levels have been rising steadily with some of the downpours this afternoon. Just make sure if you go out, you're wearing the right clothing like this chap. Now it's over to Carl Tyler for the forecast for tomorrow.
Good evening. Well, the weather certainly broke down today with the rain, some of it heavy, but tomorrow, I think just lighter rain, and then from Sunday onwards, a getting better situation, becoming drier and slightly warmer. Now, we're starting with a warning tonight. Rain and spray, I think, for most of us, but in the west it will dry out later in the night, and there we're going to see some patchy fog. Now, the satellite picture, that shows a band of clouds spreading right the way up over the country. Some bursts of heavy rain in there. Underneath that cloud, we've got a frontal system, and it is just moving very, very slowly eastwards. By noon tomorrow, we'll have gone as far as it's going to go, and then start to come back again. So it's rain at times tomorrow, but I think generally lighter rain. Tonight, outbreaks of light rain and drizzle right the way through the night for most of us, but it's starting to edge away, and I think by late in the night, just limited to the east. Over in the west, some patchy fog forming. And that's the way we're going to start tomorrow, with it dry in the west, some bursts of rain in the east, but by the middle of the day, that rain moving its way back into Hampshire, Berkshire and Oxfordshire, just generally outbreaks of light rain, and by late afternoon, it will have moved right the way over into the west, and Sussex and Surrey becoming generally dry. Your winds, just a very light southeasterly. And the best temperature tomorrow, we're looking for 13.55. Now, looking ahead, Sunday a dull start, but brightening up in the afternoon, might be 1 or 2 showers. And then Monday and Tuesday, it's sunny spells, just a small risk of showers, and getting warmer. Temperatures up to 19, that's 66 degrees Fahrenheit. Our picture tonight, that's by Carl Farmer. And the summary tonight, patchy fog in the west, rain at times for most of us. Tomorrow, cloudy with rain at times.
Thank you, Carl. Now get a pen and paper ready, because in a moment we'll be giving you that number again for our election special phone line. But time now for a regular travel roundup with Nick Knowles back in the newsroom.
Hello there. I was getting worn out watching that weightlifting. I came out in a sweat just watching. First of all, I have to apologise to the lady who phoned in and said, I'm always having a go at British Rail. They provide a wonderful service. Of course they do. On the roads, there appears to be nothing amiss in the Winchester area. No roadworks. I can't believe it's true, but that's what they tell me. If you know better, then please give me a ring and let me know. The A329 between Streatley and Pangbourne, temporary lights in use, so delays alongside the Thames there. It's very pretty around there. M4, 4B to 5, heavy westbound. M3, roadworks junctions 7 to 8, flowing easily. M3, Surrey section at junction 2, southbound, very busy. A4, Castle Hill roundabout of Maidenhead, delays due to resurfacing. A339 at Blackdown, 1 lane each way closed due to widening work. That's it. Back to the studio.
Just remember, if you're a member of a family with political divided loyalties, be it father, mother, brother or sister, give us a ring. This is the number. It's 0635 522 614. 0635 522 614. We want to hear from you.
Have a lovely weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
We will indeed.
Good night.
Cheerio. Bye.